Well, I mean, it started out on Wall Street where, a group of people decided to get together and kind of protest. And it just seems that people all over the country and globe could relate, so they all decided to do the same thing, so now it's just sprouting out everywhere. And I honestly think it's probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life.
What's going on right here is me just being an individual participant of the workers of America who are so dispassionate towards their government, towards their economy, towards their almost identity at this point.
And so for me, this is the Occupy Wall Street is just like a ringing of a bell.
I actually think that the beginning of the Occupy Wall Street movement starts with the street vendor in Tunisia who set himself on fire to protest government corruption there. And I think that was really the act that inspired the Arab Spring. And I think there are a lot of very important analogies between the Arab Spring and the Occupy movement here in the U.S. Really, both movements are about inequality. They're both about the fact that young people with college degrees can't get employment, have a lot of student loans, particularly that would be in the U.S., but I'm sure students in a lot of those countries, like Libya and Tunisia and Egypt and so on, have similar issues. So I think the lack of democracy and the extreme income inequality are issues in both movements.
I want to change. I want to help change a lot of things. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed. I think the legislation for Congress, there's a lot of loopholes that need to be changed. I think, I'm not asking for a complete redo of everything, but just a couple of changes.
I think other people should be taxed as far as, the more wealthy. I think people should actually be able to, retain their pensions. And I mean, I could sit here and complain forever. The basis is I work 4 jobs and I'm a full-time student. I'm not going to be able to use my degree once I get it. So
it's the struggle of people all over the world to live in dignity. Just have your money, but let others, live and let live. Let others also survive.
Frankly, if you succinctly were to make a point, it's the liberal backlash against the Tea Party. This is the liberal backlash against the ridiculous Tea Party.
All my life I worked in human rights in Egypt, and we were precisely anti-human rights abuses. We highlighted all kinds of abuses, corruption, greed, torture, all these kinds of things.
I am a freelance illustrator. I also work at Roger Williamsburg Zoo, and I do a lot of things.
Well, because I have 4 jobs and I'm a full-time student, I'm still having problems paying my bills. I don't think that's right. I mean, I am working my butt off to, get what I need, but I don't believe it should be this hard.
It's mainly about inequality, I think. There was an article by Stiglitz on inequality in Vanity Fair that talked about how the top 1% of wealthy people in this country now get 25% of the income and own 40% of all the wealth. And that's about as high as it's been in terms of proportion, certainly since the 1920s. That's something that I've been waiting for a movement to highlight and begin to understand, since I've been teaching about this for probably 20 years.
I think the banks have gotten away with a lot of stuff, and it needs to be fixed, it needs to be corrected.
We've come to the point where the rich are taking so much from us. It's so obvious, it's so disgusting that common people just can't take it anymore, and people like us are just coming to the streets like, you know what? This is nonsense. This is ridiculous. This is not the government we signed up for.
There's a hidden dictatorship in every corruption. It is going down that path. It disturbs me a great deal. And we're sounding a bell, you know, that be careful.
The public opinion polls show that more than half of the public support, what Occupy Wall Street is doing. It could become a campaign issue, the level of inequality and the fact that we are essentially now an economy designed to enhance the wealth of a very small number of people. That's essentially what the American economy is designed to do. People have finally realized that, and I do think it could be an issue in the upcoming presidential campaign. It's much better to, retain a commitment to nonviolence than when there is violence. The authorities are blamed for it, and that often increases your support. The commitment to nonviolence makes strategic sense. Not only is it the right thing to do, but it also is the only thing to do if you want to win.
I also believe in civil disobedience. I believe that it should be done very, very peacefully. And this is why I'm impressed with the Occupy Wall Street movement, because it is emulating the peaceful revolution of Egypt.